For those who are actually thinking about picking Singapore as your next permanent residency point or somewhere down the road getting citizenship, some things that you need to know about Singapore, because I've been studying Singapore for several years now. Back in 2008, Singapore started to drastically change their tax policies. They started lowering their individual income taxes, corporate taxes, and they've done a real good job on that, but they've done some things lately that have really started to kind of screw the country up quite a bit. Some of these things I'm going to go over with you today, they're actually doing some things that are kind of socialistic. And I've actually seen that become more and more to the point. Not as bad as the U.S., but it's getting there. Let me go over a couple of things with you. International Net News came out with an article about a dumb thing that Singapore is doing to help their current recession, because they're going through a recession period right now. Singapore's government has introduced some stricter controls for expat workers as the country records its highest levels of unemployment in more than 10 years. Also, if you're interested in getting your income taxes down to zero, or you're interested in getting a second passport as quick as 3 months, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com. Okay, now these new measures are also a response to the recently introduced national security law in Hong Kong, which has prompted many expats to actually relocate to Singapore. Unemployment rose to more than 4% in the second quarter of 2020 in Singapore, and the Singaporean economy shrunk about 12.6% in the same period in 2019. Now, 4% sounds like it's still a pretty good rate when you compare it. You know, the U.S. is that was a little bit over what the U.S.'s rate was when the U.S. was at its prime, when Trump was governing, trying to get this unemployment rate down real low. But when you figure Singapore's had some of the lowest unemployment rates of any country in the world, that this is actually a pretty high figure when you look at the way it's been over the last 10 years, because they really brought that unemployment rate really, really far down. Being said, according to a report in the Financial Times, the government of Singapore has increased the minimum monthly salary an expat needs to secure a work permit by 15% this year. I still remember when Singapore had no minimum wage. They came out with this minimum wage, I think it was around 2012. And now they're coming out and trying to raise it. This is the dumbest thing in the world, to come in and try to raise a minimum wage, especially 15%, when you have all these people that are unemployed. If you want to get more people employed, you don't raise the minimum wage. If anything, you should lower it or eliminate it. This is really stupid. I'm really surprised they're doing this. Even the U.S. is not even doing this. The government says they're giving these considerations additional emphasis now, given the uncertain economic times, to remind all employers to play their part in building up their Singaporean workforce. Well, you don't do it during a recession. That's incredibly stupid. Financial service employees will need to earn at least 5,000 Singapore dollars, which is 3,290 US dollars per month, or Singapore 10,000, listen to this, 10,000 Singapore dollars. If you're over the age of 40, they're requiring companies to do this during a time period when they're in a recession period. This is incredibly stupid. It marks the first time a specific sector has been singled out for employment past criteria related to pay. In a statement, Singapore's Ministry of Manpower said that we're giving these considerations additional emphasis now, given the uncertain economic times, to remind all employers to play their part in building up their Singaporean workforce and help sustain public support for a business-friendly work pass policy. This is just incredibly stupid. I cannot believe that Singapore is moving in this direction. This is not the Singapore that I used to know. If you're thinking about buying property in Singapore, I would avoid it. It's a very overpriced place to buy at this time. The yield is extremely low on rental properties in Singapore. It's got one of the highest places in the world to buy cars. And Singapore, not so long ago, was one of the few countries in the world, like I said, that had no minimum wage. I mean, this is really utopia when you can find a country that doesn't do that, because if you don't have a minimum wage, then the employer has a lot more money. He can hire more workers. And sure, he might be paying them a lot less than what he would have with minimum wage, but he's employing more people. You know, that it just makes more sense. That's a better choice. Raising mandatory wages to these levels, especially when Singapore is in a recession, is just plain stupid. And I think they're going to discover this real soon. If I was going to advise someone, you know, I would tell people not to move to Singapore at this time. And I mean, this is what I would tell you. Also, you know, you're making a mistake if you're going to reside there with the hopes of getting citizenship, because I know people have been there for years and they cannot get permanent residency. I didn't say citizenship, I said permanent residency, and this has to be done before you can get the hope of even getting the passport. And now it used to be 2 years of permanent residency and you could apply for the passport. Man, it's changed dramatically since then, and that was just a few years ago. National service is the national policy in Singapore, mandated by statutory law that requires that all male Singaporean citizens, and listen to this, second-generation permanent residents, to serve a period of compulsory service in the uniformed services. I didn't say citizens, I said second-generation permanent residents. All right, those who evade this requirement, in other words, if you evade this draft, you face prison time and up to 10,000 Singapore dollar fine. Remember also, Singapore doesn't allow dual citizenship, so if you're wanting to get that passport, you're going to have to relinquish your other passport or passports to do that. You know, I've been through this many times, but I'll always tell you, and this is one country I would avoid. It's got great visa-free travel, but that is it. And they do have a territorial tax system. There's so many things here. It's got an autocratic government. I'll be honest with you, they're a lot stricter in a lot of ways than the U.S. is. I've been there many times. I know their policies. And there's so many other countries that are a lot freer, cheaper. You've got so many better opportunities other places. I would much rather reside in Malaysia than Singapore. And if you ever go to Singapore, and you're going to stay there for several weeks at a time, I'm going to give you a secret. It took me just a few days to find out when I got there. Don't stay in Singapore. Go across the border. Stay in Johor Bahru. Man, you can get your costs down to $18 US a night for a room. Okay, Singapore, you can't get a room. Just a hole in the wall will run you 60 to 70 US a night, and I'm talking about a hole in the wall. Most of your hotels are very, very expensive there. And, you know, if you want to avoid it, just go across the border and stay in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. It's not that inconvenient to do that. Anyway, if you're looking to get a passport, I would tell you this. Remember these things which I've mentioned to you in the past. Remember that a good fast-track citizenship program has the following traits that I like to go over with you before you make a decision, and they are: get a citizenship program that you know you can get as long as you have no civil or criminal past. A lot of these residency by investment countries don't go by the statutory requirements after the minimum residency requirements have been made, therefore messing up your plans for a passport in a reasonable amount of time. By getting just a passport, like I mentioned before, like St. Kitts or any of the other ones in the Caribbean. I like St. Kitts because the visa-free travel is better. But by doing this, you don't run into this kind of problem, because St. Kitts passport you can get as quick as 4 to 5 months. Now, Singapore is getting really bad in their time period. They used to be pretty on time about, you know, you got permanent residency in for 2 years, you can apply for the passport. Now it's an iffy thing. I know people that have been there for years, they can't even get permanent residency. And they go a lot by your income and net worth. So if you don't have a high net worth, don't even count on it. And even if you've got a high net worth, I would tell you don't even go there anyway. And number two is make sure the country that you're applying for has no military requirements. Like I mentioned to you before, Singapore is going to hit you on that. They're going to hit your kids on that too. So if you want to avoid that, don't go there. Make sure the tax system that you're looking for, that it should have either a territorial tax system or a pure tax haven in place. Now, Singapore does have a good tax system, and they do have a territorial tax system. There are places that have territorial tax systems that are a lot cheaper places to live. We've got videos on that. You can go and look at those. And number 4 is always make sure that there's no language requirement, that you're already fluent in that language before applying, or don't apply. That's one thing I do like about St. Kitts and the other Caribbean countries is they don't require a language test in the fast track programs in the Caribbean. That there's 5 countries there that have that, or 5 territories that you can go into and not have to have that language test. St. Kitts is the best as far as visa-free across the board on all the things that I've mentioned too about dual citizenship. No language test. They've got the cheapest real estate option for the number of visa-free countries that you can go to. And also number 5 is always verify that dual citizenship is always allowed, or don't engage in that program. St. Kitts does allow for dual citizenship. Singapore does not. Singapore's got an autocratic government, and there are things I don't like about that. You know, I hear a lot of people, even libertarians, that go over there and they like that system. There's a lot freer systems out there than Singapore, I can tell you. Anyway, number 6 is if you get into a passport, get one that has as many visa-free countries as you can get, at least covering the Schengen countries. But remember, it needs to allow dual citizenship. You don't want language barrier, holding you up where you got to pass these tests after so many years. And you should be getting in something that's a fast track, at least on your first passport. Get it out of the way. And this way, if you want to linger for years and years and hopefully you get a passport, that's fine, but get a second passport that you can get quick. And number 7, remember that a lot of these countries are reserved their most lucrative business opportunities, which I've mentioned to you before, like life insurance businesses, selling real estate, in retail businesses, many different businesses that have been proven to be lucrative. These countries try to bar you out of until you become a citizen, which can take you years and years and years. You need to find this out before you get on a plane and ditch across the world and spend a lot of money and then find out that you can't get in that type of business. And number 8 is also, when you move to a new country, know the language. It's going to take you 3 times longer to get things done. It just kills your business. I would tell you, if you want to, move quick, get in a place that you already know the language. And if you want to learn more how to legally get your taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 3 months, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button. You'll get new videos as they come out automatically. I'd like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it in the comment section below. And number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com. Hit the top button that says apply with us. You'll get a question box. Fill out the questions. Hit where it says send back to us. We'll get back with you and see if we can solve your issue there. We hadn't run into a person that we couldn't solve their problem yet. We deal with 74 different countries. So we're very versed on these different countries and what your goals are and what you're trying to shoot for. But if you got a question, just send it to us and we'll see what we can do to help you out. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.